Being a goalie wife, it's hard when they're losing and you're in with the girls and he's getting scored on and they're just like, are you good? I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, it helps because for him, when he leaves the rink, like he leaves it at the rink. He never brings it home. He never lets it affect us. And I know that it went through 5 other guys before it got to him. And I've said this on social media, which I did get backlash for. I said he can only control one end of the scoreboard.
You're listening to Breaking the Ice podcast, a podcast that I created in 2020 to connect women within the hockey world. My name's Devin Dodaro, my husband's Charlie Dodaro, and we've played literally all over the world. We have 2 kids, 2 dogs, and let's just say hockey has taken my world by storm. What I've learned is that this community and these experiences are very specific, and you should not have to go through this alone. Through this podcast, I share the tools, resources, do's, don'ts, and what's helped me along the way while continuing to learn from each and every one of you. So lace them up and tune in for episodes twice a month. And make sure to follow the page on Instagram at Breaking the Ice Pod. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the podcast. I am super excited to be bringing you another episode of the podcast this month. I have also really enjoyed using this new platform that I'm using because I'm able to deliver more video content to Instagram and TikTok, just sharing, kind of a visual version of the behind the scenes conversations that I'm having on the podcast. So that's been really fun. Today on the podcast, I have Whitney Kaskisuo on. And when I tell you I had to practice saying that last name more times than not, I started recording this intro and then I said it wrong maybe 3 times. And then I had to go back and listen to how she pronounced it in the episode because it is a hard one. And guys, there are so many unique last names in the hockey world. And sometimes I struggle with pronouncing them, but we got it right. She came on the podcast today. I have followed Whitney for a while on Instagram and TikTok. She has an online presence, and she posts the cutest videos on TikTok, just sharing a lot of a day in the life of what it's like to be married to a hockey player. She also has a daughter who's 6 years old, who's showcased in a lot of her videos. So that's really fun and cute to see as a mom. So if you're not following her already, make sure to go check it out. But we talk about a lot of different things in this conversation, like goalie wife life. Her husband is a goalie. And one of the things that we talked about in this episode that really stood out to me is how much goes on behind the scenes when you're supporting someone in pro sports. From the outside looking in, I really do not feel like people realize how much goes into even signing a contract for hockey, like the conversations you have to have, the negotiations, then actually preparing to go, packing up your house, getting to that location, figuring out flights, figuring out your housing, it's a lot, and it's not just showing up to the game and supporting your man. Like, we're holding down the fort at home. Like, there's so much that goes into these guys being able to play and do what they love. And a topic that we talked about is how important it is for teams to make families and players feel valued in this lifestyle. And obviously, the higher leagues that you go up, the more valued they are going to probably make their players feel. And we've been a part of a lot of great organizations that have made us feel really supported, especially in years where I have had my children. That always felt very, helpful. Just those little details of getting a nursing chair for us, getting a crib, getting a high chair, like all of those little things that, maybe people wouldn't ordinarily think of. But really, when you are part of an organization that really doesn't acknowledge the families or the girlfriends or the wives and almost just like disregards the fact that they're even there, it can be a really frustrating feeling, especially when you feel like you're giving up kind of your life to be there to support your significant other. I've heard of teams doing like a welcome dinner for the girls to all meet and get together, because honestly, if that's not planned by the team, like it's kind of, the girls kind of take it upon themselves to do like a girls' night or coordinate something like that. But obviously it's just kind of a natural way to be able to meet people if the team can coordinate something like that. Also, like Christmas dinners are like pretty standard in the hockey world. We've also been part of a team where it isn't. It's just very interesting how when you switch from team to team, you can see the different dynamics and that goes on behind the scenes in an organization, and like what some people do and do not do. Yeah, like just as a wife of a pro hockey player, like I definitely notice and appreciate when a team goes above and beyond to make us feel comfortable, and just the little extra touches that they do so that, you know, you feel good and you have a good season. I think it is very important to do your research when you are signing with a team, because you really are kind of just walking into like an I don't know situation if you don't talk to other people that have played there in the past. Like it's very important to find out these details, and maybe that's not a deal breaker for you. As I mentioned in this episode, I feel like there are a lot of organizations that like they just don't know what they should do to support the families. Like it's just not even a thought. And I wish it was more of a topic that was kind of part of the process for these teams. Like I'm not going to say a name, but there was one year that the team did not drive me and my child to the airport. Like they didn't even have a team vehicle. And so we had to rent a car and then pay someone to drive us to the airport, and like just little things like that where it's like, we should not be having to do this. And like, it's just the fact that like the team had absolutely zero clue that that was just not like a baseline thing to do for a player with a family or just a player in general. Like, don't even get me started. So we talk about just how important that is. We also talk about social media and how Whitney shares like some of her tips on if you're interested in doing something like that, like how she got started. And we also talk about how they're doing long distance this season and how it has been for her and her daughter, amongst a lot of other topics. So I'm excited for you guys to tune in. I hope you enjoy. If you're listening to this episode, please share it to your stories, tag the podcast. It means the world. Well, I'm so happy we're finally doing this. I feel like this has been a long time coming. I wanted to chat with you, so I'm excited.
I know. Yes, I feel like we've been going back and forth for months.
I know. I feel like between like time differences and kids and everything, it's just like, it's hard to narrow down a time sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. The time difference for sure was like a big one. But now you're back home.
Yes.
And where's home for you?
Well, we're actually in San Diego right now, which is where my parents live.
Fun.
Because Charlie was released, and so our house isn't available because we were supposed to go back in May 1st.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we rented out.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's worse places we could be having to spend 6 weeks. But yeah, we're excited to get back into our house, but we have renters in there right now, so we just have to wait for them to get out, and then we can head up there.
Things that, like, people don't see with hockey, the hockey lifestyle. It's just everything that plays into effect. It has to line up perfectly. Like, all the things we sacrifice to go be with them for the season.
I know.
It's a lot of navigating.
You guys have had like a crazy season though. I was actually looking at your husband's elite prospects because I was like, okay, where has he been? Because I feel like he's been hopping around teams. He was on a couple like tryouts. You guys have been kind of all over the place. Long distance, traveling, visiting. So I guess we'll just kind of start with that. And if you want to just like introduce yourself and share a little bit about like who you are and like what's been going on with you guys this season, and then we'll just Go for it.
Yay. Well, I'm Whitney Kaskisuo. I've been married to Kasmir Kaskisuo for 10 years. He is from Finland. We met in college. He went to University of Minnesota Duluth, and I went to like a local community college there. But we had hung out in groups, been on Tinder, and like I didn't really want to date him, but he was a super nice guy, and eventually I gave him a chance, and we were attached at the hip ever since. But this season has been crazy. We have a 6-year-old, and that's been hard to navigate. I'm sure you know, with kiddos, just with schooling and trying to figure out their sporting and everything, it's hard to take that away from them and move with your husband for the season, especially when you're moving away from cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents. So 2 years ago, he left for Sweden because he was with the Nashville Predators for a little bit, but he only played like a couple games, maybe one game, honestly, maybe even like a period. But beats me. I have no idea. I don't remember. But when your husband's not playing, their stock is going down, and there was nothing for him to show for the teams that were interested in him going into the next season. So he's like, I'm going to play my heart out, go to Sweden, and we're going to come back. He didn't do that. The first year he did good. Second year was really, really hard. So we ended up coming back. It was a long journey last year. He ended up signing a PTO with the Laval Rocket. Played really well. We were feeling hot going into free agency. And then it was silent all summer. And we were like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? And part of us is like, is it his social media? Is it my social media? We kind of get in our heads about it. But Boston had taken him on a PTO, but we knew we weren't going to be in Boston. They were just waiting for their starting goalie to sign. They were filling space with my husband. So we knew that that wasn't going to be like home for the season. But we waited until January. And then Norfolk Admirals took him. And they took him for about a couple weeks. And he played in the East Coast maybe 8 years ago. Didn't play very well, but he was with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So they had like called him up, and he did really well and just stayed with the AHL. So in the East Coast, it was very rocky. He's like, I've never played with, this type of level guys before. I feel like it's hard to track their shots compared to guys in the AHL. So didn't do very well. And then they were like, okay, you can go on 2-week injured reserve when he wasn't hurt. And this is a long story. Went on 2 weeks injured reserve.
Hey, that's why we're here.
I know the next day they were like, actually, you can just go home. And he was like, what the heck? Like, I'm not hurt. You're sending me home. He's without a team. Tried to contact the league. They were like, nope, like, you're just going to have to wait it out. Like, you signed an injury thing. So then he signs with the Bloomington Bison, and they're like, okay, so, like, are you fully healthy? Like, we see that you were injured. And he was like, I wasn't injured, but I'm, like, fully ready to play. So he's been doing good with the Bloomington Bison, and that's where he's at. We're doing long distance. So it's been crazy. Like, that, their whole story is just, like, crazy. Like, going from NHL, AHL, East Coast, you don't expect that to happen.
Yes. Yeah, that's a lot of movement. And when he went to Sweden, did you go with him or did you stay back?
I stayed back the first season and realized, like, we could not do that. I feel like that was really hard on our relationship. We had a 2-year-old, and so then the next season, I went full-time. And that was even harder because time change. We were somewhere in Sweden where there wasn't a lot to do. Yeah. So it was like really hard on me. Yeah. So I feel like when I'm not 100%, he's not 100%. So it was really hard.
Would you guys ever consider going back abroad, or do you think you're going to just kind of see what happens here and take it day by day?
I feel like Europe is probably the best. Like, money-wise, I feel like Europe is really good. And I'm like, if you don't have much longer on your contract left, like, let's just or much longer in your playing career left. Yeah. Let's just go over, make what you can until you're ready to retire. But who knows? We haven't talked about it. Yeah. Just like me. So we'll see. I would definitely go back to Sweden for sure. I feel like I felt so safe. The schooling. My daughter learned Swedish. She was in school there. So yeah, we would go back.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, so obviously that's a lot of movement. That's kind of a roller coaster to be not really knowing where you're going to be and just switching teams and just a big question mark, right? So like, how has that been for you? Because you guys have been kind of doing long distance and you're just going out to visit with your daughter when you can, obviously, but even something like as simple as booking a trip to go visit your husband is probably very difficult considering you don't really have that stability.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's funny because when it comes to the off season, it's like the first week. I'm like, when are you going on your next road trip? Because I'm kind of sick of you. I feel like I thrive when he's gone. I love him. He's my best friend, but like I get so much done for myself, for work, and around the house that, you know, when he's here, I'm just like want to hang out with him and I don't want to like go do stuff. I feel like we don't get much time together. So when we do, I take advantage of it. So it's nice that I can come here and I can like really get down and work and get everything that I need to and keep everything in check. That when I go see him, I'm like, okay, like I can relax. So it's been a really healthy balance. And I feel like we're happier during the hockey season because we miss each other all the time versus on the off season, we're like, oh my gosh, how do you adjust to him being home all the time?
Right. I know. And people don't talk about that, but it is kind of hard when you're used to like a chaotic schedule and then it's like, what are we doing today? What are we? And you're
Yes. Yeah, I can't sit still. And like, yeah. So you get it.
Yes. So where is home for you?
In Minnesota, we are like 20 minutes from Minneapolis.
Okay. So that's like, you guys own a home there and that's like your home base.
Yeah. That's our home base. Our realtor actually, her husband played with us. Justin Clues played with us in Sweden. And she was a realtor back home in Minnesota and we lived in Nashville. And we were like, we want to buy a home. And she was like, okay, like, just let me know. Like, we told her our budget. She FaceTimed us the first home. And she was like, you should move here. This is where I'm from. You should move here. And we were like, okay. And she FaceTimed us the first home. And we, like, sent a picture of, like, our down payment for the house. And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
It was so weird. So we never saw it until we bought it.
Wow. I feel like that's probably pretty common though in this lifestyle because you're not living somewhere and if you see an opportunity, obviously you're going to jump on it.
Yes, exactly. So this is home. Yeah, it's nice to have a home base. I'm sure you get it like before you ever have a home that you own. In the off seasons, you're like, do we stay where the team is or do we rent in the off season like where home is? But it's hard finding somewhere that's like month to month, even for
and furnished and everything with all of your stuff and having to, it's definitely nice to have a home base that you can even just like store stuff at because even that's expensive to like get a storage unit and like if you can keep all of your stuff in one place, like even that. And
I know it's so hard. All the things I'm going to say it a million times, all the things that like people don't realize.
Yes. So you have always just kind of gone with him in the past though, or do you usually stay at home and just visit when you can?
I've always gone with him. So I left college early because he was asking me to come with him and I was like, I can't, we're not married. And he was like, well, let's get married then. So we got married, went with him. I think I was 19 or 20. Oh, wow. And I've been with him ever since. So I think it was just that one season when he went to Sweden, I was like, I'm staying in Nashville.
Okay.
And then ever since then, like, that was the only time. And I think we did that up until, like, February of the season. And then we were like, okay, like, I need to go there.
Yeah.
So
you kind of got, like, thrown into the long distance, like, just based on how the season has been going, essentially.
Yes. And here, like, Bloomington, Illinois is 6.5 hours. So it's so close. Like I go every weekend.
Oh, okay. Dang. Yeah. Well, that's nice. Okay. Quick pause to talk about one of my favorite things since being back in the States, Thrive Market. I forgot how much easier it is to actually feel good about what we're eating so I can stock up on clean, high quality products without running around to a million stores, which I hate doing. Everything from pantry staples to snacks, which my kids are on a major snack train right now, to household items. It's all on there and it's stuff that I actually want in my house. It's also been a huge lifesaver for just road trips or traveling with the kids. I can throw together a snack bag with things that I actually feel good about them eating, which makes long days a little less chaotic. And the best part is it gets delivered right to your door, which, let's be honest, is a dream when your schedule is all over the place. If you've been wanting to clean up your ingredients or just make life a little bit easier, make sure to check them out. You can click the link in the show notes for Thrive Market to get 40% off your first order. 40%. You can stock up, and especially with the price of groceries right now, that is huge.
Yeah.
Has that been like hard for your daughter? Because obviously she's a little bit older, so not
Yeah.
seeing like her dad every day might be a little bit challenging, or is she adapting pretty well since you can go out there and stuff?
Yeah, I'd say it's been really, really hard for her. I have to coach her through it every time, even though every time I leave, I choke up and I'm like, okay, how do I navigate both of our emotions? But yeah, we leave and I'm like, it's okay. We'll usually leave on a Monday and I'm like, we'll be back on Friday or we'll be back on Sunday and we'll be with him all this time, like get her hyped up for it. We'll create like checklists on like what we're gonna do with dad when we go visit him. And yeah, so it's hard because most nights she cries for him and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I'm like, if we were in Bloomington, dad would be on a road trip right now, so we wouldn't even see him. Yeah. So I try to do my best.
Right. I love your TikToks of her going to the games and they're so cute and sweet and you can just tell like they have the most special bond. So I'm sure she misses him so much, but that's good as a mom to, you know, you have to, even though it's hard for you as well, you just kind of have to like put your best foot forward and try to make it positive. And I think a lot of moms can relate to that too, like even just moving somewhere for the hockey season and like my son misses his friends back home. And even though I feel the same, I'm like, it's okay. We're here for such a fun adventure. But I'm like, I feel the same way.
I know. It's so hard because like, I know. I get it. It's the older they get, the harder it gets, truly.
For sure. But you have to do what's best for you and your family. And obviously you guys will figure out a way, I'm sure, next season to find something that works for you guys. So
absolutely, yeah. I'm already like coaching into that. I'm like, if you want to move with dad next year, we can move. We don't have to do dance. We don't have to do skating. Like we can just pick up and go and be with him. And she's like, but I want to do it. And I'm like, well, we got to pick one.
Yeah. I am curious actually, just speaking of like potentially going overseas as an option, like, and she's probably going to be 7 next year. How do you kind of wrap your mind around that? Because she would be in first grade, right? So she would be going into that. That's a little bit older. Does she speak Swedish? Like, how do you feel about her like integrating at that age into a completely different country?
I feel like as young as they are, their brains are sponges. I'm sure that's not rocket science, but when she was going to school in Sweden, it was half English, half Swedish. And they would read the books in Swedish and ask questions in English, vice versa. So I think if it were to be Sweden, she'd be able to pick up where she left off. She kind of knows the basics of, you know, she can count, she can say hi and bye and, you know, small phrases. But my husband is from Finland, but he doesn't speak Finnish with her, only her grandma does. So those I feel like would be like the best two options.
Yeah.
But like this year, like there were German teams and there were Russian teams and Slovakian, and I was like, I don't know if I can throw her into another language.
Right.
So I feel like that would have to be something we would have to talk about. Like if we would.
Yeah.
If he didn't go to either of those two countries, I don't know if we would be able to go unless I homeschooled her full time.
Yeah. So I know for some reason I was thinking your husband was Swedish, but that makes sense. He's Finnish. Okay.
Right? Yeah. No, everyone thinks he's Swedish. So.
Yeah. No, but I knew that because I was looking at it and I was like, okay, and his name sounds Finnish too. But their languages are really similar. Like I think they can actually understand each other, even though it's a different language. I heard like Swedish people and Finnish people. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. Like you said, I feel like kids are so resilient in that sense. And it's almost like more anxiety provoking for us as moms versus like our kids. Like they are so adaptable.
Really yeah, it really is. It's crazy because I'm like, if you threw me in that situation, I don't know. I couldn't do it. Yeah. They're so resilient. It's cool to see.
Yeah. What are the differences that you've seen playing in North America of like maybe how families are treated versus like experiences overall for you, like what that has looked like, you know, as time has kind of gone on?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, the higher level of hockey you play, I feel like the better you're treated. I mean, when we've been in Canada, those organizations have really just like taken the families under the wing. Like, what can we do for you? Even in the bubble, they're like, do you need help with like, do you need a babysitter, dog sitters, help with groceries? Like when the guys are in the bubble. And they really took the best care. And the number one thing is that I always base it off of is that the way the organization cares for its family really shows is a direct reflection on how much they really value their players. And so I've noticed that with, of course, I'm not going to name names, but like teams we've been on where you're almost like they don't care for you. You're almost like treated as if you're, I don't even know, like
inconvenience,
like a criminal. Like they don't want you around the players after the games. They hardly leave you tickets. I have felt with other teams that like I'm a criminal walking into the rink, and they don't want the families. They don't want the wives. They don't want the wives to associate. They try to like kind of push you to the side. But I've noticed the higher up we've been, the teams have the Swedish League, NHL, AHL, like they've really taken care of their families. Yeah. But especially in Sweden, they get you the car and the house, and they make sure that there's enough rooms and, that you're adjusting well and have all the resources for you as well when you do make it into Europe.
How do you think like a team culture like that, where they don't really prioritize maybe like families and wives, how do you think that impacts like your experience and your attitude during the hockey season?
Yeah, I feel like it's really hard for me to, of course, you always want to be supportive, but it's really hard for me to be supportive, especially when it feels like there's bad blood, because I'm like, it's me and it's our daughter. We're married. We've been married for 10 years. It's not like I'm a 17-year-old girl that he matched with on Tinder that he's just, bringing into the game, right? Like we are his rock and he is ours. And like without us, without him, like there is like, it doesn't really go around. If that makes sense. Totally. Like I don't know. I feel like it really puts a damper on things, and it's hard for us to be fully supportive.
I find a lot of the times too is because we've been in similar situations or teams where I just don't feel like we're even a second thought, and it's really frustrating. And I think another frustrating aspect of that is a lot of the times it doesn't feel like it's personal. It just feels like they just don't know. And so many organizations and teams that could be so much more successful, like if they just put a little bit of extra, just a little special touch or like a little extra energy into the families and the wives, and just understanding that like, they're a huge part of success of the player, if that makes sense. Like,
absolutely. If the teams are making the families feel valued. I don't know. I feel like the players and the organizations, at least the organizations, like if you did put in the effort with the wives to just organize a welcome dinner, a Christmas party, kind of bringing in that like family unison, even on like the fan skates. Like there's been teams where like, no, families like can't go. It's not for families, it's for fans. And, it's not like we're pulling the guys away from it, but it's like, I think if they even put a little bit of effort, the boys would feel so much more comfortable. They'd play better. They would work together better. I think it would all work out so much better. But that's just me coming from a wife. But
no, but I think it's like, I hope a team sees this and they're like, oh, that's a good idea. Because even with where, I don't know if you've noticed this, and I'm sure you have, obviously, with your platform and everything, but like the direction that everything is going with social media, like the fans are really into like the off ice players' lives, like the families, like they're interested in that now. And I think like to just incorporate that a little bit more. And I have seen it like you were saying with the NHL and everything, like they do seem to be sharing a little bit more of like the families and stuff on their pages. But I would love to see that transition in hockey personally, because it does really, impact the overall experience.
I agree. I feel like, I don't know, did you ever watch Hockey Wives? I think it was like a Canadian series.
Yes.
Like back
like a long time.
Okay, yeah. Like I loved, that was the first time I had ever like seen some of these hockey players' wives and families and like what they do. And I think I watched it when I was in high school, maybe freshman in college, before I even knew my husband. And it was cool to see like, oh, this is what they do. They volunteer, whatever that looks like for each girl. But it was really cool to see all the work they put in on top of just, showing up to the games, right? Like they actually are in the community doing work.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see that. And that introduced me to like following those girls and then being like, oh my gosh, okay, now my husband's doing this, and then trying to do the same. It's been fun to kind of, because I like to see that.
Totally. No, I think especially like if you're like you said, in the same lifestyle with someone, obviously, and just kind of seeing what people's day-to-day looks like and the hard stuff and the good stuff. And I think it is changing a little bit, but I do also think there is still that misconception that like hockey wives are just like chasing their guys and like they have no lives outside of that. And like I like that it's kind of spinning a little bit, but I mean I do still read comments and stuff sometimes of what people's stereotype is, right? And so it's nice for people to see like, oh, this actually is kind of a challenging lifestyle and it's not just like glitz and glam.
I know, that's exactly it. But I feel like that's one thing I should probably, well, I feel like I do share a lot of like the hardships and up and down, but it's easy for me just like go into the family room or go into the game and like show us, you know, all glitz and glam versus like sometimes like the raw, like real moments.
You definitely share that stuff. And I love your take on things too, like your humor stuff. And I feel like you do a really good job making light of those difficult situations because especially if you're in the lifestyle and you follow your journey, like, you know, that is not easy to, you know, do what you're doing, especially with a daughter.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's good to hear that you feel like that I'm showing all different angles, because sometimes it's hard to have like such a narrow view. Like for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how I perceive it is so different on how others probably perceive it. So it's good to hear that you feel I share all angles.
Oh yeah, totally. No, definitely. I know, but we're our toughest critic, right? So I do the same thing with myself. I'm like, I feel like I'm sharing too many hard, challenging things. I need to be a little more positive.
No, because it's so relatable. Like, and when you do share it, then there's all the other hockey wives who are like, oh my gosh, we're going through the same thing, or this happened to us, and then you gain a connection. And it's nice to see that we're all supportive of each other, even though I've never met you. There's dozens of hockey wives in my DMs every single day, and like I've never met them, but I'm like, I feel like we're like best friends, and like we're supporting each other through the seasons. It's fun. It's fun that social media has connected us all.
Yeah. So how did that start for you? Like, how did you start sharing your journey in your life and everything?
I feel like it was right after my daughter was born. I wanted to have an Instagram page like just for her. And then it got to a point where she hated pictures. And I was like, I need to like revamp this. So then I changed the tag to me and started sharing like game day outfits, just like little stuff here and there. And especially on TikTok, I had posted like one video and it blew up, and like that was it. And I was like, okay, like I'm going to keep doing this. And I think hockey romance novels, I've never read any, but people are like, gosh, I wish I remembered these characters' names, but they will like say that we're like this family in the book, or that this is like their hockey romance novel like brought to life. So the hockey romance girlies have like really helped my page grow, and which is crazy, but it was just like a domino effect. Like every video after just did well, and so I've just bounced off of that the whole time. I'm like, if this video performs, I'm gonna like recreate it and basically post it again and just have a little twist to it, and it's just done really well, thankfully.
Yeah. What's been like the most rewarding part of that for you?
I feel like the flexibility, especially because it is my job, I get paid to do it. And it's given me the flexibility. One, like my husband went basically a full year without a paycheck. So, and then another like 8 months without a paycheck. So social media for both him and I, since he does YouTube, has really been our comfort, like blanket basically when we're not getting paid through hockey. So it helps pay the bills, and that's been the most rewarding part, honestly.
Yeah.
Is that it's helped like provide.
Yeah, that's amazing. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in starting something like that, but maybe isn't quite sure how to dive in? Or
yeah, for sure. I feel like the number one thing is people try to recreate all of these trends rather than like sticking true to themselves. And my husband always says like you either have to be the first, the best, or like the most unique. I'd say like I see a lot of videos too where even like trendy TikTok sounds, you probably know what I'm talking about, but like a lot of the hockey webs use the same sound, same video, and it kind of just like gets drowned out. And like I'll use those as filler videos. But people are going to follow you for you, your personality, your humor. If they feel like they look like you and have that, like for me, like I'm more curvier. And so girls are like, oh my gosh, like it gives me so much like inspo, whatever. And so you are the brand. So make you the brand. Don't get lost in trying to replicate someone else's I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love that because it's so true. I think that you can get in that or this is what I should be doing or need to do or whatever.
Yeah.
And I see so many people that, it's try to be one way, but you stay true to yourself. Like I think that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think, people will like you for you.
Yeah, for sure.
That's been the easiest thing. So I think,
Have you ever dealt with any like backlash or just crazy situations?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I've had to filter out a lot of, especially like words on TikTok for sure, of, things that people will say, which you'd probably get flagged if I said some of them. But the things that people say, and the one thing is that I have a lot of friends who are on social media who let the comments really, really affect them. And you have to have thick skin if you want to do social media. You're being so vulnerable. People are going to point things out about yourself that you never knew, like your nose or your forehead or whatever it is, like things that you were never insecure about. And so for me, I'm just like, I'm happy with myself. I love myself. My husband loves me in all my shapes and forms. And like, it doesn't matter what username 1000,100,000,100 says about my body or my forehead or my nose or my voice or my lip filler, all the things. Like, I literally do not care. My husband loves me. I love me. And like, that's, Yeah. So you gotta have some thick skin.
Yeah.
And just
let
them go.
Have you always had thick skin, or is that something you've kind of had to come to terms with?
I think I always have, but there was a time when he first started that people would like tweet bad things about him and then I would go at it. And then I think it was maybe like a year or two where I was like a little bit immature. And now I'm just like, I would never want to trade places with these people who are commenting these bad things. Like, that's one thing my husband will always say, like, I never want to trade places with one of my haters, and like, neither should you. So why are you putting in the effort? And I'm like, yes, that is so true.
Louder for the people in the back. That's
right. Yes. I know. And so like, he has a really good mindset about it. So sometimes I'll read him and he's just like, whatever.
Yeah. No, okay. It's so true. Cause I think like anybody that starts a platform or a page, like, you're putting yourself out there and it can feel vulnerable, and you're sharing your life and your family and your kids. And it's like, when people are making comments about that, like, I mean, I've gotten messages or whatever from people, even people like actually in the hockey community, where I've been like taken aback by it. Like, and then you kind of start to you're kind of like question yourself a little bit. And then you're like, you know what? No, like, I don't need to, like, this person doesn't actually know me in person or whatever. Yeah. It's like, you kind of have to, like, have thick skin, because it can definitely, if you don't, drag you down through the mud.
Yeah. I think if this were like someone I truly cared about, like a family member saying it, or someone I was close with, like in the hockey community, I only need the opinions from people around me who I really care about.
Yes.
And if they have something bad to say, but if it's anyone else, you just kind of.
All right, the seasons are ending and it's the off-season time, which means it is time to start thinking about strollers for next season. Guys, strollers is one of the most stressful things when you have kids, of what kind of stroller you want, what's going to be the best for where you're living, cobblestones or not, long walks, running, jogging, all the things. I have preached time and time again about how much I love the brand Zoe. The customer service is immaculate. I love their products, their branding, everything. Like, they are just 10 out of 10 for me. I own 2 of their strollers. One of them is the Zoe Twin. The other one is the Zoe Traveler. And the Traveler is a travel stroller. It fits in the overhead compartment on the airplane, which is super easy for, walking right up to the plane and with your kid in the stroller, locked and loaded. And my twin, I still use with my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old to make sure that they're both safe in situations where it might be a little hectic by a road. So I highly, highly recommend this brand. I have been asked a lot lately about that, because people are like, I've seen you post about this brand, like, you really love it. And I'm like, yes, I do. Like, it is honestly my favorite stroller, and I love having a side-by-side for my kids through the last few years. I will put a link in the show notes. You can just click that link and you can get $15 off of your stroller. It is worth it. Okay, so I do want to talk about goalie wife life.
Yeah.
Though. How would you say that being a goalie wife is different than like any other position?
I would say there's a lot of stress because it's hard when, gosh, I don't even know where to start with this. I feel like being a goalie wife is so easy because there's only 2 on the team, and your odds of getting called up are so much higher than a forward or a defenseman. I feel like if one guy goes down, you have a 50-50 chance of going up. So that's always been like, an upside. There's a lot less goalie jobs and a lot less goalies, so that's another thing where I feel like we kind of have the upper hand with. But I feel like being a goalie wife, it's hard when they're losing and you're in with the girls and he's getting scored on and they're just like, are you good? I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, it helps because for him, when he leaves the rink, like, he leaves it at the rink. He never brings it home. He never lets it affect us. And I know that it went through 5 other guys before it got to him. And I've said this on social media, which I did get backlash for. I said he can only control one end of the scoreboard. And, like, the people lost it. They're like, that is such a selfish way to look at it. I'm like, well, it's true. He can lose 3-0, but, like, he can only control one end. Like, he can't score. So I think being a goalie's wife has its plus and negatives, but it's really fun because there's only 2 on the team. So.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like there's like I've heard on different teams with goalies or goalie wives, like there can be a little bit of like awkwardness almost sometimes with the dynamic because it is 2 people that are kind of not fighting, but I guess you are kind of in, I don't want to say competition.
Yeah.
Choice of words.
Yeah, you're basically like trying to play out the other guy, which I feel like, what position is your husband? Like, do you feel like he's trying to beat out other defensemen or?
No.
No?
Really.
Okay, so I feel like it depends on, we've been really, really grateful through his entire, college pro career where there's only been a select few that really have just not really been the most kind to him or whatever. And I feel like that really affects him. Mm. But I think when he has like a buddy, like he can be a mentor to them or they can be to him and they take him under his wing and, they thrive together. Like they have that goalie bromance, like that is huge for him. But whenever it's a goalie who comes in, is trying to beat him out, isn't very nice to him, is just, that's hard. So for the most part, like 95% of his goalie partners, they've had that bromance.
Yeah. So it sounds like it might be like kind of an individual situation, like depending on
which was interesting because I know I've never really sat in a family room with like another hockey wife really. Like there was like one in Nashville, but my husband really wasn't playing. He was like there. What was it in COVID where they needed another player? Not a black ace, but like
I know what you're talking about. I can't think
of
it. Yeah.
So he was basically like a black ace for the Nashville Predators that season. But this past weekend, there was a goalie that had just like got sent to our team, and there was another wife that was with that goalie. Mm-hmm. And I've never really had that before, like partially a little bit in Toronto, but I was like, this is like really cool. Like I've never actually like sat here rooted for another goalie. Wife is in the room, like, there's never been blood. There's never been bad blood. It was just really cool that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have someone who like shares this with me. Like she understands it. Like I want to root for him. I want her to root for my husband. Like our husbands are good together. But it was like the first time I've ever really realized that like I've never had another goalie wife like with me before, like truly.
Yeah, that is cool. And it is nice that, because it is such a specific role, and also like during playoffs too, like that is very there's a lot of pressure put on the goalies during playoffs, especially for, like the fans and the organization, like, and if you can go through that with another person who gets it and you can kind of help carry that stress together instead of having it on your shoulders. Because I've heard like that in itself, sitting there watching playoff hockey as a goalie wife is like incredibly stressful.
I think it is. Thankfully, like I can tell when my husband's on the ice, I'm like, he looks really nervous. And then that makes me nervous. But most of the time, I'm like, he looks really calm. When he's made a lot of great saves, like breakaway saves, I'm like, nothing is getting by him.
Yeah.
But when he starts to like be a little fidgety, like you can kind of tell him like, oh, okay, well, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
But you can kind of tell, maybe with your husband too, you're like, oh my gosh, he's on fire. Like, you know, you can tell just by their demeanor, how they carry themselves on the ice, how it's going to turn.
For sure.
Yeah.
Have you guys talked about like what life will look like after hockey?
After hockey, he's started to do like goalie training on the side now, which he's never really done. He does like one-on-one Zooms. It's just stuff here in like the Twin Cities area in Minnesota. So I'm like, oh, like that could be something that you could pursue, even coach, like being a goalie coach for a professional team. But the one thing that we both are passionate about is coffee. And so we want to open up our own coffee shop, and we've, talked about Nashville, Minnesota, kind of wherever life is, where we're at in life is where we'll open it.
Oh, I love
But yeah, so we got like a commercial coffee machine or espresso machine in our house, and like we practice every single day. And we're practicing our craft so we can open a coffee shop after.
That's
coffee.
So cute. That's such a fun answer. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So our plan is it's going to be called Coffee Daddy, and it's going to be pink and all the things. Like, I feel like that's really on trend. Like, I don't know, like the Call Her Daddy podcast and all this. And so I'm like, oh, Coffee Daddy. Like, that's cute.
That's super cute. Oh my gosh. I love that. Trademark that right now.
So I actually tried, and there's like this guy in maybe Michigan who like owns it, and I've tried to contact him, so I don't think he roasts beans anymore. I think he was a roastery. I would somehow have to let him give it to us, because I don't think he runs it anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest challenge for you in this lifestyle?
Gosh, I don't really know. I feel like the biggest challenge that I'm sure you know is not knowing where you'll be. It's exciting and exhilarating to be able to like up and move your life to wherever. But it is hard, especially when you have kids, because you have to, and pets. I have 3 cats and a dog. So it's like, yeah, like moving to Sweden next year, I'm like, or if we move to Sweden next year, we don't have anything. But like if we did move to Sweden next year, like what am I going to do with my cats? Like before, like my mom took them and she's like, I'm not taking them. So we would take the dog, obviously, but that's the biggest challenge. Or, when he's not home for birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, you get it. Like it can be really lonely to celebrate those things by yourself.
Yeah, very, very true.
Yeah.
If you could give advice to like anyone that's having maybe a season where there's a lot of, ups and downs and uncertainties, what would it be? Like what's helped you stay grounded and secure and everything like that?
Absolutely. I feel like my faith has been the number one thing that's helped keep me grounded. I feel like that in itself just brings me so much comfort. And on top of that, I think with what I tell other hockey girls too is like we have the opportunity to make or break these men. Like we can have a toxic home environment. We could, and they're going to bring that to the rink. Or we can have a really warm, welcoming, positive environment at home that they are excited to come home to and like be at, and that is going to portray into their careers. And so I think when they are, winning championships, Stanley Cups, etc., like at, the best place in their career, like we are a lot to owe for that, just because we can make or break these men. But I do think that, so the advice that I think I would give is just to be their biggest supporter, not fueling their brains with your understanding of why they're not playing or what could happen, like all the potentials. I think that for me is just not giving him ideas, being his biggest supporter, listening to him. Yeah, really just leaning into each other during those times, because the more I start to, conspire, like maybe why he's not playing or maybe why he's not starting or all of these things of what might happen, those are ideas that were probably never in his head to begin with. So to really just, I think just keeping things at home a minimum, like not conspiring, not coming up with all of these little ideas and outcomes, and just, being their biggest supporter and their rock, because it pays off. It really does.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like that quote that they say, like, do you want advice or do you want someone to listen?
Yes, exactly.
I'm guilty of doing that sometimes. Like,
yeah, it's so easy to sit and like be like, oh my gosh, like the coach is out to get him or whatever it is. But it's like they probably didn't think that, and now you're saying it and they're going to believe it. So just fuel them with the things that they will believe. Like, you're good, you're going to get there. Like, it always works out for the best. Like, I've never had it not work out.
Yeah.
So as complicated as things can be, like, all season, I was like, it's going to work out, even though it's mid-February, you don't have anything. Like, it's going to work out. It always does. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
And it's so true. You see why something might have not worked out because there's something waiting for you that's better than what you would have imagined. So I love that. If people want to reach out to you or follow you on any social channels, go ahead and plug that, and also put it in the show notes if people want to just click it as well.
Okay. My Instagram is at by, so by_Whitney, and then TikTok is at Whitney Kaskisuo, which, good luck with the spelling.
Yeah, it'll probably pop up as you start typing it in.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because it is a mouthful. Like, people are like, how do you, and I don't even say it right.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was so nice to finally meet you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we finally did this.